Christmas time is almost here, and you are listening to my present to you. Over the last several years, I've been writing and recording songs for special occasions. The boys' birthdays, Mother's Day, my sister's birthdays, things like that. I decided to throw Christmas into the mix of special occasions. I've always loved Christmas. Of course, I have lots of Christmas memories from my childhood. I can still hear the fireplace crackling. Can't you? Ah, there it is. I remember the decorations and the presents and the food. So many wonderful things about Christmas. Mostly, Christmas reminds me of songs and family. You'll hear some songs, 4 of them to be exact, and you'll hear a few stories along the way. I hope you enjoy the gift that I made for you. I invite you to sip hot cocoa and nestle in by a crackling fireplace for the most festive holiday experience. And now, I present to you stories and songs for Christmas.
Joyful and triumphant, come ye, oh come ye to Bethlehem. Come and behold him, born the King of angels. Oh come, let us adore him. Oh come, let us adore him. Oh come, let us. Oh come, let us. Oh come, let us adore him, Christ the Lord. Sing, choirs of angels, sing in exaltation. Sing, all ye citizens of heaven above. Glory to God, all glory in the highest. Oh come, let us adore him. Oh come, let us adore him. Oh come, let us. Oh come, let Christ has come, Christ has died, Christ is risen. Christ has come, Christ has died, Christ is risen. Christ has come, Christ has died, Christ is risen. Christ has come, Christ has died, Christ is risen. Christ has come, Christ has died, Christ is risen.
I was raised by my grandparents in South Georgia, a little town called Adel. My grandpa owned his own business, a little shop called Lindsey's Fix-It Plus. As the name suggests, it was a fix-it shop. This was back when a person could make a living repairing things that cost a lot of money, that you used a lot, and you wanted to keep in working order for 20 to 30 years. So my grandpa worked on washing machines and vacuum cleaners and stereos and televisions. He also repaired old bicycles, and he sold new bicycles, a crucial detail you need to understand for the Christmas story I'm about to tell you. One afternoon in late November or December, when I was about 9 years old, I was at my grandpa's shop playing catch by myself in the shop's side yard. I would throw the football up in the air far enough and with enough arc that in order to catch it, I had to run as fast as I could and, if I'd thrown it correctly, dive at a full body stretch like the NFL greats I grew up watching, like Jerry Rice and Art Monk and Mark Clayton. So this is what I was doing on a late fall day while my grandparents were standing outside the shop talking to a man who was a customer at the shop. At some point in the afternoon, my grandparents called out for me to join them and the customer to whom they were talking. So, football in hand, I walked over. My grandmother led off the conversation. "Joel, this man has a son about your age, and he wants to get him a new bike for Christmas. We thought since you were about his age, you might be able to help pick out a bike he would like." Now, it's at this point in the story that you need to understand what sort of bicycles my grandpa sold at his shop. He sold 10-speed bikes. He sold bikes with training wheels and baskets on the front. He sold bikes that had high, curvy handlebars and banana seats. But the greatest bike he sold was a BMX bike. If you don't know what a BMX bike is, indulge me for just a moment. A BMX bike is a bike made less for riding on the street and more for doing tricks and stunts. The BMX bike was not as tall as the 10 speeds, and the frame was thicker. The tires were wider than a regular bike, with all those knobby protrusions that presumably helped you do tricks, but more importantly, they looked awesome. But the main feature of the BMX bikes my grandpa sold, the most compelling and beautiful feature, was the mag wheels. BMX bikes don't have all those thin, spindly little spokes that look like a bunch of metal toothpicks. No, the BMX bike had mag wheels. Instead of having dozens of skinny metal spokes jammed between the wheel's hub and rim, mag wheels were a single piece of alloy with 5 thick spokes that made the bike lighter and faster, and because they were often painted in bright colors so that you could spot them a mile away, the mag wheels were scientifically proven to be 1,000% cooler than regular bikes. My grandpa had exactly 2 BMX bikes for sale the day I was asked to help pick out a bike for some kid I didn't know. There was a red BMX bike with silver mag wheels, but it was for girls. The difference between a boy's bike and a girl's bike is slight, but trust me, this was a girl's bike. The other BMX bike was metallic blue, with glorious lemon peel yellow mag wheels that instantly elevated anyone who rode it 20 to 30 rungs on the social ladder. I wanted that bike with a passion usually reserved for marriage and winning the lottery. Now, back to the statement my grandmother posed to me one late fall day when I was 9 years old. Joel, this man has a son about your age, and he wants to get him a new bike for Christmas. We thought since you were about his age, you might be able to help pick out a bike he would like. I absorbed this statement, and as it sank in, I began to think about my response. I wanted that BMX bike. I needed that BMX bike. I scanned the row of bicycles at the front of my grandpa's shop, and I gave the only answer a good 9-year-old boy who wants a BMX bike could give. Easy, I said. I'd pick that green bike with the curvy handlebar and the yellow banana seat with gold flecks in it. No way some strange kid was taking my metallic blue BMX bike with lemon peel yellow mag wheels. I did what I had to do. That's all I really remember about that day. I probably went back to making diving touchdown catches in the side yard or something. And I totally forgot about the whole thing until a few weeks later on Christmas morning. I woke up that Christmas morning to the sounds of my sisters squealing about presents. I jumped out of bed as excited as I could be. My hopes were high. My family did not have a lot of money, but I just had a feeling that this was going to be my year. I opened my bedroom door, which led right into the living room, where we had the Christmas tree and all the presents. My eyes were bleary. I was sleep-deprived, but there by the tree was the unmistakable shape of a bicycle. Yep, I definitely got a bike for Christmas. It was a green bike with a curvy handlebar and a yellow banana seat with gold flecks in it, just like I'd picked out for that other kid, except it turns out the other kid was really me. A few weeks earlier, my grandparents staged the conversation with that customer to get me to pick out what would be my own bike for Christmas. So let that be a lesson to you kids. You don't always get what you want, but you very frequently get what you deserve. Merry Christmas, and may all your Christmas bicycles be BMX ones, metallic blue ones with lemon peel yellow mag wheels.
sounding joy. Retreat the sounding joy. Retreat, repeat the sounding joy.
This next song is a fairly modern Christmas classic, and you will almost certainly recognize it because of its use in the 1965 made-for-TV special A Charlie Brown Christmas, which is also now a Christmas classic. And when I hear it, I think of that movie too. But I have to let you in on a little secret. This movie, even with Christmas right there in the title, is not exclusively a Christmas movie. Same goes for the song, even though it is deceptively titled Christmas Time is Here. I have to tell you the truth. Neither of these is exclusively a Christmas thing. Moreover, both A Charlie Brown Christmas and Christmas Time is Here have what you might call magic powers, which I'm assuming you are just hearing about for the first time. And it's okay that you didn't know that. There's really no way you would know about the secret magical powers of A Charlie Brown Christmas and Christmas Time is Here, unless, of course, you grew up in the Deep South in the 1980s in a house with no central air conditioning, with only a single window unit to cool the whole house, and had a genius for a younger sister. Deep South, 1980s, no air conditioning, single window unit, check, 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 and check. Genius for a younger sister? I had that too. Her name is Sarah. My sisters and I loved A Charlie Brown Christmas. It was our favorite Christmas movie. I know this because we owned a VHS copy of it. The only other VHS tape I recall us owning was my older sister's Duran Duran music video compilation, which she guarded more closely than all the gold at Fort Knox. So to have a VHS copy of A Charlie Brown Christmas means it was a really big deal in our house. Now, there were other great holiday movies that we enjoyed, like the Disney Dickens mashup Mickey's Christmas Carol, or Miracle on 34th Street starring a young Natalie Wood, or the stop-motion classic Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. All fine movies in their own right. But to me and my sisters, nothing captured the full emotional experience of Christmas like A Charlie Brown Christmas. It had it all. The seasonally affected Charlie Brown, who at the very beginning of the film says, "I think there must be something wrong with me, Linus. Christmas is coming, but I'm not happy." I feel you, Charlie Brown. I feel you. There's the humor of Lucy explaining to Charlie Brown that Christmas is a big commercial racket. It's run by a big Eastern syndicate, you know. Oh, we know, Lucy. We all know. There's Linus's poignant recitation from the Gospel of Luke that so perfectly orients the audience toward a deeper experience of the holiday. There's the scrawny little tree and the cooperation of all the kids to give that sickly little pine its own shining moment. And then there's the soundtrack. This gloriously incongruous collection of sophisticated jazz tunes, most of which were instrumentals, laid down by the piano, bass, and drums of the Vince Guaraldi Trio. From the rollicking fun of Linus and Lucy, to the cascading piano lines of Skating, to the staggered rhythmic changes surrounding the melody of O Tannenbaum, this soundtrack is maybe the most widely recognizable jazz album of all time. The movie and the soundtrack are now both firmly rooted in the festive soil of Christmas nostalgia, and rightfully so. But I have to tell you, when I see this movie and hear this soundtrack, I don't only think of Christmas. That's because A Charlie Brown Christmas is also a summer blockbuster. I bet you didn't know that. Let me explain. I grew up in South Georgia, and I don't know if you know this about South Georgia, but it is known for being a very hot, very humid place. Summers can be almost unbearable because of this heat. And there are a couple more details you need to know. First, I am a middle child. I have an older sister, Jennifer, and a younger sister, the aforementioned genius, Sarah. As a boy with two sisters who did not like sports and were sort of indoorsy, I spent a lot of time outside playing by myself. In the summers, I imagined myself as a teammate of Dale Murphy and the Atlanta Braves, or Ozzie Smith and the great St. Louis Cardinals. I was an MVP caliber hitter, fielder, base stealer, and all-around generational talent in my own mind. So I would run around playing imaginary baseball until I was red-faced, dripping with sweat, on the verge of passing out from fatigue and thirst. And this was all by design, because one of the things I loved about working myself into this lather of sweat and thirst was going inside the house, gulping ice-cold water and standing in front of the air conditioner. This brings up one more detail that you need to know. We did not have central air conditioning in our house. Our house had a single small window unit in the living room. That was it. If that doesn't make you anxious and short of breath, let me put this in terms you might understand. Fighting off the oppressive heat of South Georgia summers in my single window unit childhood was like being blindfolded with your hands tied behind your back as someone tosses you into a boxing ring with a prime Mike Tyson. We stood no chance. And this is where the genius of my younger sister Sarah comes into the story. One typical summer day, I imagine it being the hottest day of the year, in August 1986, I came inside the house to do my water-gulping, air-conditioning blasted cooling routine. Nothing out of the ordinary. Upon entering the living room, I heard the unmistakable sounds of a Christmas movie coming from the television. And there was Sarah, all of 8 years old, standing in front of the TV with the volume turned all the way up, watching our VHS copy of A Charlie Brown Christmas. The whole thing was more than a little strange. I laughed in that dismissive way older brothers laugh at younger sisters, and I blurted out some question about why Sarah was watching a Christmas movie in August. Unfazed by my arrogance and condescension, and from an almost zen-like trance, without moving and with a dreamy, lilting voice, Sarah said, "It makes the whole house so much cooler." And to my utter astonishment, I realized she was right. The whole house was much, much cooler than normal. I'm talking 10, nay, 15 to 20 degrees cooler. Did I have a way to measure the temperature? Of course not. But I am certain this is true, and you will never convince me otherwise. Sarah and I just stood there, in our cool living room, watching the movie, listening to that jazzy soundtrack. I would not have been surprised at that moment if snow had started falling from the ceiling. It was, after all, downright chilly now in our living room. As we stood in silence, watching A Charlie Brown Christmas, swapping the dog days of a South Georgia summer for our own little Christmas miracle in August.
Christmas time is here, happiness and cheer, fun for all that children call their favorite time of year. Snowflakes in the air, carols everywhere, olden times and ancient rhymes of love and dreams to share. Sleigh bells in the air, beauty everywhere, Yuletide by the fireside, and joyful memories there. Christmas time is here, we'll be drawing see such spirit through the year. Sleigh bells in the air, beauty everywhere, Yuletide by the fireside, and joyful memories there. Christmas time is here, we'll be drawing near. Oh, that we would always see such spirit through the year. Oh, that we would always see such spirit through the year.
The final song on Stories and Songs for Christmas comes to us from the 15th century. When I set out to do a Christmas record, I decided to wear my influences on my sleeve. You've heard about some of my influences already. This particular song was inspired by the Christmas output of a recording artist I came across in the mid-2000s, a man named Sufjan Stevens. If you don't know who Sufjan Stevens is, I encourage you to look him up. That's Sufjan, S-U-F-J-A-N, Stevens with a V. Sufjan Stevens' Christmas music is the stuff of mid-2000s hipster legend. As I recall, the collection of music called Songs for Christmas has 42 songs on it. It was released as a 5-disc box set that included a poster, stickers, and a sing-along book for each disc. It is quite the assortment of Christmas fare, from traditional carols to inventive originals to instrumentals. But one of the things that grabbed my attention when I first heard the album was the inclusion of what I refer to as obscure Christmas hymns. These are centuries-old Christmas songs you've never heard of, like one titled Bring a Torch, Jeanette, Isabella, and another, The Friendly Beasts. And their inclusion injects just the right amounts of mystery, fun, and rootedness into the holidays. So with my Christmas record, I wanted to include an obscure Christmas hymn too. I Googled obscure Christmas hymns. And I searched, and searched, and searched some more, finally landing on a hymn from at least the 15th century, and possibly older, called Noel, Sing Now We All and Some. All and some is a medieval way of saying one and all, or all together now. So this carol is an invitation for one and all to come and sing. The song is comprised of several verses, though I only use 3. And it includes a refrain, which is heard at the beginning, the end, and in between the verses. One unique characteristic of this song is the use of Latin phrases intermingled with the English. In the refrain, for example, you hear the opening line, Noel, sing now we all and some, and then comes a phrase using Latin, for Rex Pacificus is come. Rex Pacificus is Latin for King of Peace. Likewise, the verses have 3 lines in English and a 4th line in Latin, a different phrase for each verse. The first verse contains the phrase, A solis ortus cardine, which means, from the pivot of the sun's rising, which is a reference to the 5th century poem and song that spans the life of Christ from birth to resurrection. The second verse ends with the Latin phrase, O lux beata trinitas, which means, O Trinity of blessed light, again a reference to a 4th century hymn attributed to St. Ambrose. And the third verse contains the phrase, Exultit caelum laudibus, which means, let heaven rejoice in praise, and references liturgical texts from the 12th century Franciscan tradition. Now, that's what I call an obscure Christmas hymn. Finally, a word about the melody. In my search, I came across only a couple of arrangements. They were both for choirs, and while they were both very good, they did not seem to me to be particularly singable. Given the nature of the song, especially the third verse and its invitation to make merry and sing with the heavens, I wanted an easy, singable melody. So that's what you'll hear. My youngest son, Schaefer, whose voice is in the mix of voices singing the song, told me that this song reminded him of Pop Goes the Weasel. I take that as a compliment. I'd also like to give a shout out to my friend Mark Roach and the Mark Roach Singers, who you will also hear on the track. And with that, warm up those pipes, brush up your Latin pronunciations, grab some wassail or eggnog, and raise your voice. Noel, sing now we all and some.
Noel, Noel.
now all and some. For expatificus is come, Alleluia, Alleluia. In Bethlehem, in that fair city, a child was born of a maiden free. That shall a Lord and Prince be, a soli sortus cardine. Noel, 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 sing we now all and some. For expatificus is come, Alleluia, Alleluia. As the sun shineth through the glass, so Jesu in his mother was. Thee to serve now grant us grace, O Lux Beata Trinitas. Noel, 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 sing we now all and some. For expatificus is come, Alleluia, Alleluia. Now God has come to save us, now of Mary is born Jesus. Now make we merry amongst us, exultet caelum laudibus. Noel, 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 sing we now all and some. For expatificus is come, Alleluia, Alleluia. Noel, 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 sing we now all and some. For expatificus is come, Alleluia, Alleluia. Noel, 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 sing we now all and some. For expatificus is come, Alleluia, Alleluia. Noel, 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 sing we now all and some. For expatificus is come, Alleluia, Alleluia.
Thank you for listening to my little Christmas project. It's been a lot of fun to think about and play and record and share with you. Once again, I want to thank Mark Roach and the Mark Roach Singers for the vocals on Noel, Sing Now We All and Some. I also want to thank my oldest son, Eli Lindsey, who composed the backing track for Joy to the World. Beckett Lindsey created the artwork for the album cover, and Schaefer Lindsey lends his vocal talent on Noel, Sing Now We All and Some. Have a very, very Merry Christmas.